Grant City. Hardest place on earth. People aren't born here. They're forged out of broken bones and blood money. Fortunes are lost and found on a daily basis. And if you're not one of the lucky finders, you're probably dead. That's not to say there's no justice here. It's just hard to reach sometimes, under layers of crime and corruption that stretch between the gutter and the glamour. It was another gray autumn. The leaves were changing from go green to caution yellow. Pretty soon they'd be danger red, then dead brown.
All cars, gunshots reported in the vicinity of Chinatown subway construction site.
This is Slate. I'm on it.
When Dead to Rights launched back in 2002 as an Xbox exclusive, it introduced us to K-9 officer Jack Slate and his companion Shadow. Fans of games like Max Payne couldn't get enough of the bullet time action to be had in Dead to Rights, along with its film noir story. Some reviewers bashed the game, saying it looked dated and was too difficult, but fans didn't mind the difficulty level, and the game was so well received that it was later ported to the PS2, Nintendo GameCube, Game Boy Advance, and PC. The game is not only known for its awesome action, but also for some of the clever minigames sprinkled throughout the game. One of which you play a timed minigame with a stripper to distract the bad guys so Jack can sneak past. Dead to Rights 2 hit store shelves in 2005 and was developed by Widescreen Games. This time around, players are treated to a prequel to the original game where we find Jack Slate and his canine buddy Shadow on a case to rescue a judge who has been kidnapped for uncovering a crime syndicate in Grant City. Facing off against the mob and even Russians who killed Jack's girlfriend, Jack and Shadow fight their way to try and rescue the judge and get revenge for his girlfriend's death. Fans of this series were treated to a second helping of Dead to Rights in 2005 with the release of Dead to Rights Reckoning on the PSP, developed by Rebellion. That's right, the same developers who brought us the kick-ass Alien vs. Predator on the Atari Jaguar. The game is actually a prequel to Dead to Rights 2 and finds Jack Slate and Shadow on a mission to rescue the daughter of a Grant City senator who has been abducted. As has become a series signature, the action is fierce, the bullet time intact, and the ability to use Shadow's assistance to attack enemies and retrieve weapons. Now, April 27th is amongst us, and Jack Slate is back in a reboot to the franchise as developers describe, introducing Dead to Rights to a new audience. Publisher Namco Bandai and developer Voltile Games takes us back to the beginning where for the first time in the series' history, we find out how Jack became partners with his canine buddy Shadow, and we also see Jack's relationship with his father fleshed out. The grittiness is back, and the story this time involves an edgier and more rugged Jack Slate who must take down the gangs of Grant City who are bringing the city to decay, with the aid of his father's dog Shadow. Jack soon becomes hunted by his own police force, and the further down the rabbit hole Jack goes, he uncovers a conspiracy. The developers also have done something rarely seen in video games. They brought the voice actors in and had them act out their lines in the same room together, playing off each other rather than recording at separate times. Speaking of voice acting, let's see if you can identify the voice actor playing Jack's father, Frank Slate.
You're still trying to recruit my boy, Red.
Always.
You're late for your appointment.
Sound a little like Roy Campbell from Metal Gear Solid? Well, you're right. It's none other than voice actor Paul Eating. A great depth also went into the game's dark and menacing soundtrack, which was recorded by an orchestra composed by Matt Black at the legendary Abbey Road. The gameplay is everything you could ever want out of a Dead to Rights title. All new kick-ass disarms are back and in full force. The hand-to-hand combat system is very engaging, and of course the gunplay is a blast. Wait till you pick up a shotgun and blow your enemies away. You can chain combos together when fighting hand-to-hand, which at certain points will trigger a killer takedown move. Later in the game you are able to do a takedown with guns for some totally awesome kills. You can take cover behind almost anything while peeking around and shooting. You can even blind fire while covering. Now while there is a focus mode where time slows down for Jack to pinpoint where he wants to shoot his enemies, oddly the diving in slow motion that we all know and love from the series is missing. Still is a fun mode to be in when taking down baddies. There is one part in the game where you are running up a staircase taking down enemy after enemy till you make your way to the top. This part of the game is extremely awesome, and it reminded me a lot of the famous staircase fight scene in the movie The Protector starring Tony Jaa.
Do you know what you've got yourself into?
The game has a great balance. You first start the game off by taking control of Shadow, who can sneak up on enemies for the kill, or take a more ferocious approach by running and jumping on top of the enemy, ripping his throat out, or digging Shadow's claws into the enemy. Shadow can also drag bodies into hiding to avoid attention from enemies. When you play as just Jack, you are treated to tons of gameplay missions, and there are some missions that require Jack to just fight with his bare knuckles. And finally, not too long after the story begins, you'll have Shadow by your side throughout the rest of the game to aid you in taking down enemies. Sometimes you have to go solo with Shadow to complete an objective. Dead to Rights Retribution is a solid action title that is hard to put down. You'll find yourself playing this game just to take control of Shadow alone. It is very addicting and gratifying to tear your enemies to shreds. Until next time, this is Jim Combs saying, think twice before committing a crime, because you just might have Shadow gouging your throat out. See you next time on Video Game Saga Spotlight segment. Be there or be square.
I'm giving you a direct order, Detective. You go in there, I'm taking your shield and your gun.
Here, you point it in that direction, and you pull this to make it go bang. Feel free to point it at a bad guy, if you ever end up facing one.
Well done.